What's up, Scope Nation? You're watching WrestleScope, and I'm telling you right now, stop whatever you're doing, because what I'm about to reveal will have you yelling at your screen. Before I drop this absolute bomb, smash that subscribe button like you're swinging a metal chair, hit that like button until it can't take any more, and turn on that notification bell because WWE just did something they can never take back. Today, we're jumping into the most harsh, most shocking behind-the-scenes incident in recent WWE history. And believe me, what actually went down is not what they're showing you on TV. Here's what everyone is missing. Jacob Fatu just came back from being suspended. You heard that correctly, suspended. The same Jacob Fatu who WWE has been shielding like he's fragile treasure. The same muscle of the bloodline who's been given opportunity after opportunity despite leaving a path of injured bodies behind him. And what does he do on his very first day back? He doesn't say sorry. He doesn't show he's sorry. He doesn't even wait to get approval from the bosses. No. This complete wild man tracks down Drew McIntyre in the backstage section like a guided weapon and goes on to deliver the most vicious, most out-of-control attack we've witnessed since Brock Lesnar destroyed a production truck. But here's where it gets super interesting, and this is what has me absolutely furious. WWE knew this was going to go down. They had to know. And not only did they let it happen, they might have actually wanted it. I've got inside information, I've got proof, and by the time this video ends, you're going to be wondering the same thing I am. Is WWE keeping their wrestlers safe, or are they throwing certain superstars under the bus to push their beloved bloodline story? Drop a comment right now with your first reaction. Are you Team Fatu or Team Drew? Because this argument is about to get explosive. Let's go back in time, Scope Nation, because to really get this absolute madness, we need to understand how we arrived here. 3 weeks ago, Jacob Fatu went too far. During a backstage moment that was supposed to be a simple face-off with Kevin Owens, Fatu went completely off the plan. We're talking a real attack that left KO with a head injury, a real head injury, not a fake one, and hurt ribs that had him taken off house shows for a week. The wrestling news sites called it an accident. WWE's official message labeled it an unfortunate situation during a physical fight. But my contacts backstage, and these are people who were right there, who witnessed it happen with their own eyes, tell a totally different story. Jacob Fatu lost it. He wasn't performing. He wasn't following a story. The man became angry and released years of built-up fury on Kevin Owens for reasons nobody in that locker room completely gets. Some say it was personal bad blood going back to their smaller show days. Others think Owens said something that set Fatu off. But the reality is that WWE has been sitting on a dangerous situation with Jacob Fatu, and they've known it from the start. So what did WWE do? They suspended him. 2 weeks. With pay, by the way, because heaven forbid their bloodline muscle actually experiences real punishment. And during those 2 weeks, do you know what went down? Absolutely nothing. No anger classes, no behavior training, no real discipline. Just 2 weeks for things to cool off, for social media to forget, for the WWE universe to not remember that one of their top guys is possibly a threat to the other wrestlers. And here's the part that should scare every WWE fan. Several sources have confirmed that during this time off, instead of thinking about his actions, Jacob Fatu was working out, getting bigger, getting stronger, getting more threatening. He was getting ready for battle. In WWE, they were getting ready to set him loose. Now, let's talk about Drew McIntyre, because this is where the story becomes absolutely crazy. Drew has been on an incredible run lately. The Scottish Warrior has been giving the most heartfelt, most genuine speeches of his career. He's been challenging the bloodline, yes, but he's also been doing something that WWE bosses really dislike. He's been speaking honestly about the company itself. 2 weeks ago on Raw, Drew grabbed that mic and said something that made every WWE boss uncomfortable. He said, and I'm quoting directly, "This company protects the wrong people and punishes the ones who actually care." Boom, truth bomb. Drew was talking about the unfair treatment, about how certain wrestlers get unlimited chances while others were tarred for years and get nothing, about how the bloodline has been given story after story, main event after main event, while hard workers like him have to battle for every bit of attention. And you know what? He was completely right. But here's the thing about speaking honestly in WWE. There are prices to pay, and those prices often come as revenge booking meant to teach someone a lesson. My contacts tell me that within hours of that speech, there was a meeting. Triple H, Nick Khan, and several important creative people sat down and had a very serious talk about Drew McIntyre. The rumor going around backstage is that Drew was told to calm it down and to stick to the plan. Drew McIntyre, being the fighter that he is, basically told them what they could do with their plan. So here's where it becomes planned, Scope Nation. Here's where it becomes spiteful. Someone, and I'm not naming names because I want to keep my contacts safe, someone in charge made a choice. Jacob Fatu was returning from being suspended. Drew McIntyre needed to be put in his place. And what better way to handle two problems with one auction than to let Fatu make a big impression upon his return, an impression written in Drew McIntyre's blood. The chess pieces were being positioned, and Drew had no clue he was about to become a playing piece in WWE's twisted plan. Monday Night Raw, the night Jacob Fatu's time off was supposed to end. The excitement was heavy in that arena. The WWE Universe knew something was coming, but nobody, and I mean nobody, expected what was about to happen. Fatu wasn't promoted for the show. WWE kept his comeback completely secret, which by itself is strange. When they want to boost ratings, they promote everything. But this, complete silence. Why? Because they knew this wasn't going to be a regular return. This was going to be madness, and they couldn't risk anyone, including their own wrestlers, getting ready for it. The show moves along normally. We get our matches, our speeches, the typical Raw setup. Drew McIntyre has a segment planned for the second hour. He's supposed to give a speech about his upcoming championship goals, maybe take a few more shots at the bloodline, normal stuff. Drew's in his changing room about 45 minutes before his segment. He's concentrated, locked in, reviewing his talking points. The camera team hasn't shown up yet. Security is light because, hey, it's just a speaking segment, right? Totally wrong. According to people who saw it, it began with the lights. The hallway lights going to Drew's changing room started blinking. People saw it, made jokes about WWE needing to pay their electricity bill, typical backstage talk. But then the lights went completely out. For exactly 5 seconds, that whole section of backstage was totally dark. And when the lights returned, Jacob Fatu was standing in that hallway like some kind of scary movie bad guy, and he had his eyes fixed on Drew McIntyre's door. People nearby said you could sense the hatred coming off this man. His fists were tight, his jaw was clenched, his breathing was heavy. This wasn't a wrestler about to give a speech. This was a hunter about to attack his target. And here's the most troubling part. There were WWE officials close by. There were producers in that hallway, people who should have stopped it, who should have gotten between Fatu and that changing room door. But they didn't. They just watched, some of them with their phones out filming. That's when it became obvious this wasn't going to be prevented. This was approved violence. What happened next will be remembered in WWE history, Scope Nation, and not in a positive way. Jacob Fatu didn't knock. He didn't say anything. That changing room door blew off its frame. And yes, I mean blew off. Fatu hit it with a running hip attack that sent the door flying across the room, almost hitting a production worker who was there setting up for Drew's recording. Drew McIntyre, to his credit, responded immediately. The Scottish Warrior jumped to his feet, ready to defend himself, because that's what Drew does. He doesn't run from anyone. But Jacob Fatu was on him in moments, and what came next, according to several eyewitnesses, was less of a wrestling battle and more of a street beating. Fatu grabbed Drew by the neck and threw him into the lockers. The sound of Drew's body crashing into metal echoed through that whole backstage section. Wrestlers came running from their changing rooms thinking a vehicle had crashed into the building. But Fatu wasn't finished, not even remotely. He pulled Drew up and delivered a crushing headbutt that opened Drew's eyebrow immediately. Blood started streaming down Drew's face, and you could see in Fatu's eyes this only made him more driven. Drew tried to fight back. He threw punches, big European uppercuts, even managed to push Fatu back and create some space. But Jacob Fatu is 290 pounds of Samoan power, and he was fighting with a level of anger that Drew simply couldn't equal. Fatu caught one of Drew's punches, twisted his arm, and delivered a crushing super kick that sent Drew flying through a catering table. Food, drinks, plates, everything went everywhere. And the sound Drew's body made hitting that table, several people said it made them feel sick. But here's where it goes from a fight into attempted serious harm. Jacob Fatu picked up a steel chair. Not a fake chair, not a prop chair that's meant to break apart safely, a real, solid steel chair from the crew section. And he swung it at Drew McIntyre's head with the goal to hurt him, to injure him, to end his career. Drew somehow managed to roll away at the last possible moment. That chair hit the concrete floor with such power that it bent. The impact left a mark in the floor. By this point, security finally decided to step in, not because they worried about Drew's safety, but because things were getting so wild that they risked a real lawsuit if Drew was seriously hurt. 8 security guards surrounded Jacob Fatu. 8! And even then, it took them almost a minute to hold him down because he was fighting like a man out of his mind. He was yelling in Samoan, veins bulging in his neck, still trying to reach Drew McIntyre, even with 4 grown men hanging off each arm. Drew, bleeding and beaten, had to be helped to his feet by road agents. His eye was puffing up, blood was still running from the cut on his eyebrow, his ribs were already showing bruises, and the look on his face wasn't fear, it was anger mixed with disbelief. Because Drew knew, just like everyone else in that backstage section knew, this wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't planned. This was real. And the most obvious evidence that WWE was involved in this attack, the cameras were filming the whole time. Within minutes of the attack, WWE went into crisis mode, but not the kind of crisis response you'd expect. They didn't immediately suspend Jacob Fatu.
They didn't release a public sorry. They didn't even check on Drew McIntyre beyond making sure he could physically continue the show. No, their first move was to take away every phone that had recorded footage of the attack. Producers went changing room to changing room, demanding that any wrestler who filmed the incident erase the footage right away. Some did it out of fear for their jobs. Others, the clever ones, had already sent their videos to trusted people outside the company. That's how we know the truth, Scope Nation. That's how we know this wasn't just a heated fight like WWE is trying to make it sound. Meanwhile, Drew McIntyre was rushed to the medical room where he got 12 stitches for the cut above his eye. 12 stitches. And you know what WWE officials told him while he was being sewn up? We're going to turn this into a storyline. A storyline? The man was just attacked, legitimately hurt, and WWE's first thought is to figure out how to make money off of it. Drew, according to sources, was angry. He wanted Fatu arrested. He wanted to press charges. He wanted real punishment. But WWE lawyers got involved. They explained that if Drew went public with assault charges, it would expose the company to questions about their safety rules, their ability to control their wrestlers, their